Welcome back to HR Baddies. This is where HR is smart, strategic, and just a little bit sassy. I'm your host, Katie Garcia, and today we're going to talk about something that every HR professional knows too well: leading without authority. We're going to build on episodes 7, 8, and 9, and we're going to talk about the next step in that. So we've talked about training your managers. We've talked about redesigning the HR function. We've talked about fixing the culture leaks. But none of that works if HR doesn't have a seat at the table or even a say at the table. Today, let's focus on influence without the title. Because yes, you can absolutely shape strategy. You can drive outcomes. You can change the game in your organization, even if your title doesn't say senior director or vice president. It falls to all of us. It doesn't matter what your title is. If you're in the HR department, you are teed up to help move into the periods of change. Why does HR struggle for influence? HR is often invited too late. That's a sore reality. This is age-old HR, is we're here to put out fires. We're making an organization-wide decision. Hey, HR, can you roll out the communication on this? They don't ask our input. They don't understand HR's value. What is HR up the chain of command? HR is admin. HR is compliance. HR is the culture police. HR is all the firefighters that are needed to go because somebody didn't clock in or somebody's benefits were wrong. HR pros, we want influence, but we don't always speak in the language of influence because influence isn't tied to a title. So what is it tied to? Influence is tied to relationships. It's tied to trust. It's tied to timing, data, really anchoring HR's work and directly correlating it to business impact. How is what we're doing over here in HR with admin, compliance, and culture? How is that all tying into the business impact? HR doesn't get ignored because it's not important. It gets ignored because it hasn't framed its importance in business terms. Learning as HR how we can talk about it, how we can move out of reactive HR into strategic HR. That's a lot of what we've been talking about this month. We're coming close to the end of the year. So a lot of you are putting together the staff retreats or the holiday parties and these times that everybody's going to be together. Also, the strategic planning probably has started happening already, be it not for 2026, for 2027. So how do we get our seat up there at the table? There's really 4 levers of influence. This is like when you don't have authority. Your title doesn't say that you have the influence, but this is the heart of this episode. We want to talk about practical, actionable, and HR baddie behavior. So the first lever that HR can start to learn to pull is storytelling with data. Look at your turnover. Look at engagement scores. Look at productivity. Look at onboarding metrics. Tie every HR idea out there to dollars. Tie it to risk. Tie it to ROI. Those are the things that will start to help HR put together the data story that they can tell and the data pieces that they can do analytics on to bring it to where the business is being impacted. Because if we can say, here's the business impact, you're going to get instant executive attention. Hey, the turnover in this department, blah, blah, blah. Or the ROI on implementing this new system is blah, blah, blah. Being able to tell the story with the data, not just, we need a new system, everything's on fire, but really start to talk about the data. Learn the data, learn that business side of HR. Because yes, it's about the people, but it's also about the data. There's also doing what I'm going to call stakeholder mapping. So who influences the decisions? Who blocks the decisions? Who has the CEO's ear that is telling the CEO marionette strings that he should be pulling or she should be pulling. HR needs allies because it's not just about approval. It's getting people up the chain to understand why this would be impactful, how this will be impactful, what dollar savings it will be, what dollar expenditures it will be, what you're going to get for that. Learning who you have to talk to is just as important as learning what data you should be talking about. The third lever is going to be really leading through pilots. Don't ask for permission to overhaul a whole system. Pilot it to one team. Get a demo, maybe. Kind of set up a new process or a structure. Maybe it's just an Excel workflow. Maybe it's a Teams workflow. There's a lot that can happen kind of in SharePoint and Teams. So look at your internal systems and see what pieces there are that you could potentially be using in order to just maybe not replace a system, but supplement the system to make it better, in order to make it able so that you can move and start talking about overhauling things as a whole, how much time one small change made you on one team. That also will help with the second piece, which is building out quick wins. Because when you can look at quick wins, you can talk about them, which gives you visibility. It then also gives credibility to your idea. And then it also will allow for you to have that budget conversation. Maybe it's just about hiring a SharePoint developer in order to bring it in and make it happen. It might not be a totally new system. Maybe it's just something that needs to be changed or tweaked or streamlined to be a little bit easier. Lever 1, storytelling with data. Lever 2 is stakeholder mapping. Lever 3, like we just talked about, is leading through pilots. So the fourth lever is being the calmest person in the room. Influence isn't loud, it's composed. It listens very much. Leaders will trust consistency much more than they will erratic firefighting. HR is called to do the firefighting, so a lot of times we take that into the various pieces of what we're doing. We're going to pull from what is our norm. When chaos hits, HR needs to be that anchor. Yes, we have to go fight the fire, but we can fight it through policy. We can fight it through process. We can fight it through different ways besides throwing fuel on the fire. You don't have to be the most powerful person in the room to influence it. You just have to be the most prepared. So pulling out these 4 levers are going to help you to be prepared. They're going to help you to have the conversation, to know what data to talk about, who to talk to show analytics, to show credibility, to show what you've tried and what has been successful. And then doing it from a place of that you are the consistent piece in this. So here's all this chaos happening all around. There's changes going within and out the organization. But here's HR just kind of doing its own thing, building out, hey, we changed this process internally. Here's what our new ROI is. Hey, the onboarding time was reduced. Hey, the time to approve leave was reduced. Hey, now we're actually tracking who's requesting time off. There's all different pieces that you can look at. It doesn't all need to be big sweeping changes. And the more that you can prove case studies, the better it's going to be for you. So being able to speak to it the right way and be the most prepared. Because in order to gain and follow actionable tactical change is bringing solutions, not problems. HR shouldn't show up with the drama. It should show up with the path forward. It should say, hey, we put this fire out over here. Here's what we learned about it. Take away those actionable pieces. This is the action that happened. This was our response to this. This is the path forward. This is how we're going to move forward. This is how we're going to make it better. This is what we learned was a shortfall. This is a gaping hole. There's all different things that you can look at and assess to bring the solution to problems. Also, simplify the ask. Leaders will say yes to things that are easy to understand, to things that are low risk, to things that are measurable, to things that align to the business goals. So make sure that when you're going to ask for something, it meets all of that criteria. You know what you're asking for. You know how to ask for it. You're bringing data along with it. You're talking about how it aligns to the greater business goal. And then learning to communicate like an executive. Use short sentences. Don't be rambling on and on. Don't feel like you need to fill every silence. This is something that has taken me a long time to learn, is that it's okay to just sit and take it in. Take time to think and respond thoughtfully. Use your POV as your guiding guardrails to the conversation. Keep them strong. Hey, this is what I'm going in to talk about, and that's what I'm going to stick to. I'm not then going to start talking about all this other stuff over here. We're going to stick to this one thing. We're going to go in just in our lane. And then we're going to tie every single thing that we want to talk about to outcomes. What is it going to get us? Where is it going to take us? How much is it going to cost? What is the ROI? What is the change? How long will it take? What is the implementation time? Who needs to be involved? Have all of the answers to everything that you're about to go in to talk about. And then make sure, this is probably the most important one, but you have to show up with the receipts. So bring your success stories, bring those micro wins that you built, bring your metrics, go in ready to have that data conversation. It's not just about, hey, we want this. This is the data that backs up why we want this. This is the data that backs up why we need this. Because all of these things are going to help you start to build HR's reputation in a different direction. You're building your reputation long before you start having the conversations. So when trust is being looked at and how a company trusts the HR team, that's all built long before you have any seat at the table, or you've even thought about having a seat at the table. You start to have great conversations with the right people, and then you'll start to get a seat open for you at the table, because you're not coming with the problems. You're not coming with all the, we wish, pie in the sky, we want this, unlimited this, blah, blah, blah. You're coming with very actionable and directed items. And that is what's going to help to build the trust in order to get you the seat at the table, but also keep you at the table. Because influence and having a seat there, that grows from consistency. Respect grows from delivery. So those are different things, but you're trying to build both in the end. So we talked about what you can do. What should you not do? Because we got to take the sassy angle too, right? Here's what you should not do. Don't overwhelm the executives with HR jargon. We love the elemental P's. We love this and that. We love to talk about blah, blah, blah in shorthand. Everything in shorthand. The PTO, everything's got an acronym in HR. So make sure that you're going in and you're talking in plain language. Don't overload it with all of this other stuff. Just go in and talk about the data that you have and what it means. Don't ask for resources without a business case. This is pitching 101. Don't go in and ask, give me this, without saying, this is why I need it. This is what the outcome will be from getting it. Have all of that lined up. And then don't ever go in with the martyrdom, right? HR is doing everything. We have to offload this. We have to get rid of this. We need better systems for this or that. Go in again with the solution. Hey, we've been expending a lot of time in this. Here's what we think we should be doing differently to make that better. Here's how we can save time. Here's how we're going to save money. Here's how we're going to make the end user experience better. Here's all of the things that are going to happen as we start to move these pieces around. And then don't wait for permission to lead, because leadership is a behavior. It's not just a title. It doesn't matter if you're HR generalist 1 or you're senior executive VP of total rewards. Everybody can have a say as long as you have the information and the data and the analytics and the conversation pieces that matter to back it up. Because if you wait for your title to lead, you're never going to lead. You can influence at any time along the way. And that's something that I wish that I had learned sooner in my career, is that you can influence things without having the title. They call it managing up, right? Where kind of you should know your boss's job, your boss should know their boss's job, and being able to do it that way. But sometimes you don't need all of even that. You just need to know your job and know your job well, and then be aware of what's out there that other people are using. What are other people doing? What is the takeaway from other companies that have struggled with this? You'll find a lot of stuff from just doing a Google search a lot of times. And there's great info that you can find on YouTube or Reddit. They're kind of these off chapters or offshoots of things. Start going to HR meetings for SHRM, right? HRCI. Go to these things and talk to people. Hey, we're really struggling with time cards. What system do you use for timekeeping? What's your flow for time card approvals? Is it the managers? Is it payroll? Who's in charge of what? Because maybe things just need to be reallocated in order for them to be more successful. Another big piece I found is you might have an applicant tracking system or you might have an HRIS system that can do a lot of things that you don't have set up properly. There could likely be workflows that you're not utilizing. There can be things that you're not taking advantage of that already exist there. So make sure that you know your system. You know what is there, what is in play, what is an add-on, what is already included. Know all of that as you start to gain your information to go and make the pitch. That is going to be another big piece because that is so lost. There's so many places that have these great HR systems and they don't really know how to use them. They're not set up properly. The workflow's incorrect. They didn't ask the right questions. You can go back and make tweaks and edits to things. Sometimes it's just as simple as turning on a system that you already have. Maybe you already have an LMS within your HRIS system. Maybe you already have an onboarding piece that does I-9 and E-Verify within your ATS system or your onboarding system. There's all of these great features that exist now, and companies are constantly rolling out more to make it more robust, to give you more flexibility. There's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes. So make sure that you know your system in and out, what it can do, what it can't do, what it needs supplements on, what it doesn't. Because everything to gain influence is all about having the data, have the clarity, have the relationships, be consistent. That's all how you build out your seat to influence at the table. Because HR belongs there. You don't need a title to make an impact. But you do need the data. You do need the clarity. You do need to know your lane. You need the relationships. You need the consistency. You need all of these things that are going to go in and make your case stronger. Because a seat at the table isn't given. It's earned through impact. And you already have everything that you need to create it. So go out there and do it. Research your pieces, know your stuff, know your data, be able to talk about the business side of it. And that's how HR can start to make the shift from, again, firefighting into more of the strategy. That's a really great piece to take away from all of this. And it's also going to play into what we're going to talk about next week. Because next week, we're going to start talking about skill-based hiring practices. We talked a little bit about it in Unlocking Veteran and Military Spouse Talent, the first one that I posted. I talk about it in my book. I talk about it a lot on KDG support. But moving to skill-based hiring is where the future of recruiting and HR is going. So we're going to look at job descriptions. We're going to look at interview for capability. We're going to look at opening the doors for different talent return to work. Veterans, military spouses. There's a lot out there that is looking to bring really great things to your organization, and you could be missing them because they don't check a bachelor's box or they don't check a certification box. So next week, that's what we're going to dive into. So that's it for this episode, and I will look forward to see you guys next week. This is already episode 10. This has been such a great ride. Thanks for coming along with me.